All right, hi, James with the 1HourSmartHome.com, and today we are going to show you how to install a Leviton Smart Dimmer light switch. So with these light switches, these are smart light switches. You can use them to control your lighting through your phone or using Alexa or Google Home voice commands. So a really great way to upgrade your lighting. The number one thing that you want to make sure that there we got ALEXE. The number one thing is you want to make sure that you've got the power turned off. So you should always check that you've got that turned off. Down at the circuit breaker, we're also going to use our non-contact voltage meter. We're not getting any readings there. We're not getting any readings there. And this is just a typical light switch setup. We've got another video that shows you how to wire a light switch. But once we've checked that the power's off, we're just going to take off the cover plates here. And it's always a good idea to check the power again once you get the cover plate off, so we will do that. My non-contact voltage meter, we'll put a link to this below. This is a really helpful tool. We're not getting any kind of voltage here, so that is safe. Safe. Okay, safe. Sometimes the batteries aren't in there. Great. Safe. Safe. Okay, so everything's reading safe. No voltage. Okay. It's also good, the best way to do it is you turn the light switch on so that you see the light bulb on, and then go turn your circuit breaker off down at the electrical panel, and the light bulb, when it's off, you'll know that the power has been cut. But still a good idea to use a non-contact voltage meter. We'll include a link to one of those below that we recommend that works really well for you. We're going to use this so that we can get in and out. The Leviton light switches, the smart light switches, they are completely wireless. So they are a great option for automating your home with smart lighting. I really like them. I've got a couple in my home. For all of this stuff, I check everything out to make sure that it works for you guys, so that I'm not recommending anything that isn't a good fit. So what we're going to do is, I always recommend take a picture of your existing lighting if you can. It's really a good idea. But what we've got here is our neutral wires. We've got our ground wires. And then this one going to the light fixture, that is our load wire, and this is our hot wire. So you need to have a neutral wire to install these smart light switches. That's pretty common with most smart light switches, and you can see we've got the different wires that we need on here. We've got a hot wire, we've got a neutral wire, we've got our red wire, which is a load wire, we have a ground wire, and then this fourth one, this is for three-way switch application, so we're not going to be using that today. We'll just leave it capped off like that. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up the load wire here, and not a bad idea to check this, right? Okay, boom, no power. I should have checked it before I put my screwdriver on there, but always a good idea to check it. It doesn't hurt, takes just a moment to check. So we got to loosen up our terminals here to get the wires out. Make sure you loosen that all the way. Loosen this one a little bit more. Okay, should be nice and loose there. Sometimes it takes some pliers to be able to pull these out. You want to be careful though that you don't damage the insulation on them. If you do, you're going to need to strip the wire back a little bit more. And let's see if we can't get that out of there. Man, that one's in there tight. In this case, we may actually just end up cutting the wires because it is pretty darn tight in there. A lot of you are going to have these attached to the terminals and not to the quick connects, but some people get them connected in there. Let's see if that insulation. So we're going to have to cut this one and reconnect it, which is fine. And I'm just going to do the same thing with the other one. So let's cut it right here. And then we're going to strip this wire. Straighten it out a little bit. Okay. And there we go. We've got that one stripped, and I'm just going to cut this one for time. And the last thing we got is the ground wire. So I'm just going to disconnect this ground wire here because we have a nice ground terminal on this one here. So what we got to do here then is strip the hot wire that we just or the load wire, which we just disconnected, which is what we got there. Straighten that out a little bit. Okay, so now we've got everything ready to get wired back in. Neutral wire, ground wire, load wire, hot wire, okay? So, we will get all these ends off the end of this thing here. And I'm just gonna start with the easiest one here, the ground wire. Get that connected. It's good to kind of get it started by giving it 1 or 2 wraps kind of around the electrical wires there, so it's a little bit easier. One important thing to note is if you are installing these in a brand new home or a renovation, I do recommend using a little bit longer of or deeper of an electrical box. We're gonna pull this out here. Sometimes things don't go the way you planned. All right, there we go. All right, so one of the things that is just a consideration is that you want to use a deeper electrical box because these smart switches take up a fair amount of space. So trying to get the smart switch in a small electrical box can become kind of a headache. So we just changed up the wire nuts we were using there. That red one was a little bit too big. Wire nuts are actually different sizes based on the color, so important thing to know, but we just changed it up. These light switches do come with a couple of wire nuts, I believe, so easy way to solve that problem there. And let's get another yellow one. And we're gonna do the load wire, which is the red, to the load wire, which goes to the light fixture in our case here. So we got that one wired up. You know, when you're tightening these wire nuts on, you want it to have a firm pressure, but really more than anything, you kind of want to see the wires start to twist together, and you'll be able to feel, okay, that those are on there securely. See how I'm pulling on them? So far we've got our load wire wired up, we've got our ground wire wired up, we've got our neutral wire and our hot left to go. So I'm wiring up the hot wires right here, the black to black. Okay. And one thing to note is that when you have longer wires inside of the junction box, it actually is easier to install smart light switches. So give yourself lots of extra electrical wire, because what it is that it allows you to bend the wire more easily. So this is 14 gauge wire that we've got going on here. Let's make sure we get these. Sometimes you need to use your pliers to kind of get a nice start to wires when they're kind of off on their own there. Let's see if we can't get this one started. Good. Make sure we get all of them in there, including that one. Yep, that one's not in there quite yet. All right, so what we're gonna do is, I think this one's a little bit too long. We need to trim this back just a little bit. Okay. And now we're going to get those wires twisted together. You can see them starting to twist together like this. Now that is secure on there. So we've got everything wired up. We have our neutral wire, the white wires wired together. We have our hot wires wired together. We've got our load wires wired together. And we have got the green wire going into here, which is to the ground wire. So now we are ready to fold these back in to the electrical box, which this is like, it's like origami. You gotta fold these kind of in the best way possible. Get them deep down in that box, but do it carefully, gently, and try and spread it out so that when you put this electrical box or this light switch down, it's going to go into the box nicely. And then we're going to go down, give it some gentle but firm pressure. All right, we've got it in that electrical box. But like I said, the deep electrical boxes, that is a huge help if you are designing a new home. super important thing, or if you're doing renovations, tell your contractor to use extra deep boxes. And they'll probably tell you like, oh yeah, we're going to use deep boxes. But no, tell them to use extra deep boxes, like the biggest ones available that they can get. A lot of times they just dismiss a homeowner and then they realize how much more difficult it is to install a light switch that is so much bigger than a typical light switch. All right, so we're gonna just, this is kind of a typical issue that you can run into if you live in a city with conduit. And in that case, what you might need to do is you need to loosen this fitting a little bit, because if you can see, for those of you that lives in states with plastic electrical boxes, you won't have this issue. But what you can see here is that you have the fitting right here for the conduit that comes in. And sometimes this interferes with how the box goes down into the electrical box. So sometimes you got to loosen that up just a teeny bit. You don't want to loosen it so much that the conduit comes disconnected or anything like that. But like 1 or 2 revolutions can really help to get this thing to fit in there. And that's actually a pretty common problem that you could run into in a area with conduit rather than just typical plastic electrical boxes. So, all right, we're getting that secured. We're getting this one secured down here. Okay, everything's going in. All right, so we've got everything now on our light switch. Sometimes you need to adjust this a little bit. You can see you've got some side-to-side adjustment, so get it straightened out on both sides. However, it's going to look level on the wall is kind of the most important thing. So we can level this one out maybe a little bit more. It's hard because the camera here is maybe at a little bit of an angle. Okay, and we'll do this one here. Okay, so then all you got to do is put your electrical box cover back on and secure that down, and you are ready to turn this smart light switch, this smart dimmer switch back on, this Leviton Smart Dimmer. These are a really great option and highly recommend for smart lighting. They will work with just your Wi-Fi router network. You don't need to have any kind of additional hub or anything like that, and then they will connect to Alexa and Google Home with those 2 devices. So we will turn the power back on, and you want to make sure that you put that other screw back, but we have lost it in the fray now, so don't do that. But we're going to turn the power on so you can see this thing working. Okay, you can see down here the light is blinking. That is how it starts up so that you can add it to your phone app. And there you go. Light switch turns on, turns off, and then you can connect these to Google Home or Alexa. It's also got dimming adjustment, so once it's programmed in there, it's going to be a little bit more fluent with the amount of dimming adjustment that you can have. And you go down. There you go. So that is how you wire in a Leviton Smart switch that works with both Google Home and Alexa. These also do work with HomeKit, so good thing to know. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to this video, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.